Who brought the Jews back to Jerusalem to reclaim it as their own? It was modern Western civilization. Now then, the text of the Quran is very clear that Allah was responding to a question posed by the rabbis about a great traveler who traveled to the two ends of the land. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeated the question before he answered it. And this is what he said, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنْ ذِي الْقَرْنَيْنِ. Good. We used our methodology, and you use yours. We don't deny you the freedom to use your methodology, but why do you criticize us? You want to condemn us? You want to stop us from using our methodology? What's wrong with you? Our methodology is in order to understand the meaning of the word qarn. When Allah says qarnayn, qarnayn, it means two qarns. And you say two qarns means two horns. That's what you say. And you will have to stay with the implications of two horns. But we don't say that. And you're annoyed with us for that? What's wrong with you? Can't you give us a break? Our methodology is let the Quran answer the question. Qarn can mean horn, and qarn can mean an age, an epoch, a people, a generation. Which one is it? Our methodology is let the Quran answer the question. You have a problem with that? I'm fed up with these critics from left, right, and center, top and below. They don't give me a minute to spare. No. The Quran has never used the word qarn to mean horn. The Quran has used the word qarn many times, but never used it to mean horn. So why, on one occasion, it will use the word qarn to mean horn, when everywhere else it does not do that? Why? So our choice is this one. And give us a break if this is our choice. Our choice is to dismiss the meaning of horn, and our choice is to accept the meaning of qarnayn, two ages. And we went on to describe the first qarn. And therefore we have a second qarn to find the way. They don't have that. They don't have that who talk about two horns. That Cyrus had two horns. That Alexander had two horns. That Suleiman had two horns. That Top, Nick, and Harry had two horns. Well, go your way with your two horns. We don't have time for you. We are talking about two ages, two epochs. And we spoke about the first qarn. And in the first qarn, Dhul Qarnayn traveled in the direction of the setting of the sun. And there he came across a body of water which was dark and murky. Can we have picture number 2, please? Picture number 2. Can we see picture number 2, please? Ah, there we are. A body of water which is dark and murky. There is the Black Sea. On the left-hand side of the screen, the Black Sea. And that Black Sea is called the Black Sea because visibility is so low. Because it is so dark and murky, that is why it is called the Black Sea. But the sheep and the cattle can't see. Even if we send them to an eye specialist, they still can't see that it is called the Black Sea because it is dark and murky. And that is where he went. That is the geography of the Quran. We don't have time to waste with the sheep and the cattle who put on a face mask to go for Salatul Jummah. We don't have time for them. Those who recognize that they were mistaken and now look for an imam with backbone and look for a salat and a masjid where there are no face masks. No, alhamdulillah for such people. And so he traveled to the direction of the Black Sea, and there he came across a people. Dhul Qarnayn has power, Allah gave him power, and Dhul Qarnayn has faith in Allah. And when power rests on the foundations of faith, how will power be used? Now listen carefully. Allah spoke to Dhul Qarnayn. And he said to him, إِمَّا أَن تُعَذِّبَ وَإِمَّا أَن تَتَّخِذَ فِيهِمْ حُسْنًا. These are words spoken directly by Allah to Dhul Qarnayn, not through an angel, not through Jibreel alayhi salam, not from wara al-hijab. This is direct speech, the way Allah speaks to his prophet. Ya Ibrahim, Ya Isa, Ya Dawood. He speaks like that to Dhul Qarnayn. If you say that Dhul Qarnayn was Alexander or Cyrus or whatever he was, then the implication of that declaration of yours, that reckless declaration of yours, is that Allah spoke directly to Alexander and Allah spoke directly to Cyrus. So on Judgment Day, when you are questioned, you'll have to provide the evidence that Allah spoke directly to Alexander, and he said, "Oh Alexander, this is what you must do now. If you, إِمَّا أَن تُعَذِّبَ وَإِمَّا أَن تَتَّخِذَ فِيهِمْ حُسْنًا." If Allah did not speak to them, you do not have that evidence, then you would have spoken a lie against Allah. Be careful, be careful, be careful of what you say about Allah. مَا قَدَرَ اللَّهُ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ. So I'm giving this gentle warning for those who have the capacity to think, not for those with a chip on their shoulders. No, we are right, we are right. Not for them, but for you who have a capacity to think and who want to rethink. If you cannot provide the evidence that Allah spoke directly to Alexander or to Cyrus, and you cannot provide that evidence on Judgment Day, and if your statement is wrong, then you have spoken a lie against Allah. Be careful. And then we said that since the first Qarn began by the Black Sea, we are of the view that the second Qarn will also begin by the Black Sea, but you can choose Singapore or Japan or whatever you want. I'm not bothered with that. This is our view, okay? The second Qarn will begin at the Black Sea, and this is logical for us. And then he traveled in the direction of the Caspian Sea. Siddiq, can you give us the first pic, please? He traveled in the direction of the rising of the sun. The rising of the sun. And the sun rises from the east. The sun rises from the east. Siddiq, can we get the first pic, please? When he traveled, yes, that's you are. The Black Sea is on the left side of the screen, and then the Caspian Sea is on the right side of the screen. And in between, you see the Caucasus Mountains there. And there is Azerbaijan, right there at the bottom, close to the Caspian Sea, where someone translated my book. And there in that region, where the sun rises by the Caspian Sea, he found the nicest of all people. That's right. لَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُم مِّن دُونِهَا سِتْرًا. They were not adorned with any of the sophisticated things of modern Western civilization. Not at all. They live the natural way of life. And that natural way of life has survived and will survive, despite all the horrendous, bogus jihad waged against these people for so many 100 years by the Ottoman Empire. That natural way of life will survive in that region of the world where the Caspian Sea meets Azerbaijan there. لَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُم مِّن دُونِهَا سِتْرًا. And Dhul Qarnayn had the wisdom, the gratitude to Allah, the good sense to allow them to remain living as the way they are living, that natural way of life. And so that was the second Qarn. And when, that was the first Qarn. When the second Qarn is to come, once again you will find in that region of the world the nicest people. And so as I'm teaching this subject, there's a desire growing in my heart. And I know when I reveal this, there will be a desire in the hearts of so many of you, not this summer, but maybe next summer, that we go on a journey and we start from the Black Sea. Maybe we get a coach or something, we rent a coach, and we have a group of people with us, and we travel from the Black Sea, and we stop all the way until we reach to the Caspian Sea, to Baku. And we would have retraced the journey of Dhul Qarnayn from the Black Sea to the Caspian Sea. May Allah make it possible. It will be a wonderful, it will be a historic journey for the first time since the Quran was revealed, that a people who understand this subject now, because you could not understand this subject before, not at all, only in Akhir Zaman is possible to understand this subject. That these people who understand this subject now recognize that this is the second Qarn. And in anticipation of the second Qarn, they want to travel from the Black Sea to the Caspian Sea. May Allah make it possible. I just share this with you. This is a desire in my heart. And now then we spoke about the third journey. And when the third journey came, he traveled to a pass between two mountains. To the mountain range. There's a pass between the mountain, and that's what the Caucasus Mountains you just saw. And there in that pass he came across a people, and who were described, لَا يَكَادُونَ يَفْقَهُونَ قَوْلًا, a people whose language could not be understood, a unique language, unrelated to the regional languages. That's the Georgian language. And there the people said to him, إِنَّ يَأْجُوجَ وَمَأْجُوجَ مُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ, Gog and Magog are committing fasad. So these are agents of fasad. And fasad is wickedness, it's injustice. And they said, we'll pay you, can you build a barrier, contain them? He should have said, but I have the power, I have the faith, and I will punish them. You don't have to worry to pay me. I don't have to build a wall. No, I can punish them and stop them in their tracks. But he did not do that. Why? The answer is located in the hadith. That Allah says in the hadith al-Qudsi, I have created creatures of mind so powerful that none but I can destroy them. So Gog and Magog are not only agents of fasad, of corruption, of destruction, but so powerful that no human force can stop them. None. Only Allah can do it. So he did not punish them because he could not punish them. All that he could do is to contain them. And he built a barrier. And when he built the barrier, this is what he said. They could not penetrate it, they could not scale it. They could not be angels because angels are not wicked. They could not be jinn because jinn could pass through a wall. They have to be human beings. There are no others. Gog and Magog are not living in the interior of the earth like ants down there. That's for schoolboys. That's for sheep and cattle. We know they're human beings. Gog is an ummah of Banu Adam, said Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Magog is an ummah of Banu Adam, says Allah's Messenger. And none of them dies without leaving 1,000 more behind. So they constantly increase. And those that increase are called Ahlu Ya'juj or Ma'juj. So he built the barrier and the world was safe for them. So long as that barrier is there, the world is safe. But then Dhul Qarnayn said something else. This is what he said. I wonder, those of you who say Dhul Qarnayn is Cyrus and is Alexander, would Allah give this knowledge to Cyrus and Alexander? He says, هَذَا رَحْمَةٌ مِنْ رَبِّي. This barrier which has been built, this is Allah's kindness to us. فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي. And when that time comes of which my Lord has warned, is this Alexander talking? Is this Cyrus talking? Will you not have some sense? فَإِذَا جَاءَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي جَعَلَهُ دَكَّاءَ وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا. When that time comes of which my Lord has warned, Allah is going to bring down this barrier. When He brings it down, then Gog and Magog will be released. And when Gog and Magog are released, then that which Allah has warned will come to pass. My answer to you is, be careful. Cyrus did not speak these words. You will have to answer on Judgment Day if you say Cyrus spoke these words. Alexander did not speak these words. You will have to answer on Judgment Day if you say that Alexander spoke these words. No. This is why I do not identify Dhul Qarnayn with any historical personality. No. And you want to force me to do that? Can't you have some respect for me? I am 80 years of age and you want to force me? I know what you are saying, I don't accept it, but you want to force your views on me? I never force my views on you, do I? Ah, yes. What a world in which we live. So, when that barrier is broken down by Allah, then Gog and Magog will be reached. When will that barrier be broken down? We know that when the barrier is broken down and Gog and Magog are released, we know that there will be universal fasad all over the world, but the sheep and the cattle who close the doors of the masjid on me, preventing me from teaching this subject, they don't know that there is universal fasad. And if they hear that there is universal fasad, they don't care two peanuts about that. They have more important things to do to make sure that Darul Uloom in Britain doesn't close down. But there's universal fasad all over. What is fasad? Fasad is that for which Allah has devoted the greatest punishment. The greatest punishment, He says, cut off their hands and feet from opposite sides and crucify them for fasad. Fasad is that which corrupts and destroys. I don't have to explain this to the Arab because this is his mother tongue. He understands fasad, but imagine my surprise when I find so many Arabs in Europe who don't know Arabic. They speak another language if Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam were to listen to them, he wouldn't understand what they're speaking. Yes, yes. So they don't speak Arabic anymore. So there is universal facade today in the world. There's facade in the political system. There's facade in the economy. There's facade in the monetary system. There's facade in sports and entertainment. There's facade in military affairs. There's facade in education. Shall I continue? And yet they eat the biryani and they go home and sleep, the sheep and the cattle. But you and I know that there is only one possible explanation for the universal facade in the world today, and that is that Allah has broken down the barrier. You don't need any Google Earth to go and search, you can't find it. The barrier is broken down. The barrier is not in the interior of the earth, you dum-dum, no. The barrier is between two mountain ranges. That's where he built the barrier. So don't bother with your Google Earth. So when the barrier is broken down by Allah and Gog and Magog are released, at that time, universal facade in the world. Two events now, and time is running out for me. Give me a minute, please. Bismillah. Nabi Muhammad ﷺ was asleep at the home of his wife Zainab, radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And he saw something in his sleep. He had a vision, a ru'ya. And he woke up with his face flushed red. It was something terrible, terrible, terrible. And he woke up saying, Waylul lil Arab min sharrin qad iktaraba. Woe unto the Arabs. Now it is all of mankind who are going to be affected, all of mankind. But in mankind, it is the Arabs more than anybody else who are going to be the targets. He says, woe unto the Arabs. Min sharrin qad iktaraba. I hope that the Arabs are now listening to me. The Arabic world, the Arab world, that there is a terrible warning in this hadith. He raised his fingers like this and he said, today a hole has been made in the barrier, built by Dhul Qarnayn. Not the Sad, the Radam. Radam is like a dam. Sad is just a wall. Excuse me. He said that a hole has been made in the barrier, indicating that Gog and Magog will be released, and that is why he's saying, Waylul lil Arab. But the sheep and the cattle have lost the capacity to think. They can't see it right here, that the relationship between the hole and Waylul lil Arab is because Gog and Magog are now going to be released. Allah is bringing down the barrier. And so the release of Gog and Magog commenced in the lifetime of Nabi Muhammad alayhi salam. That's the implication of this hadith. She asked, shall we be destroyed even though there are salihun, righteous people amongst us? And he said, Naam, the Arabs are going to be destroyed. When will they be destroyed? Idha kathura al-khabas. When garbage prevails all over in the world today. That's where we are today. That's where we are today. All over the world is garbage ruling over us. Garbage which doesn't even have a passing acquaintance with the Quran. These are the ones who are ruling over us today. And when you go to teach them the Quran, they put a no-fly list, put you down on a no-fly list, they ban you. They send terrorists to kill you. No, you're not allowed to teach the Quran. That's the garbage we have today. He said, when إِذَا كَثُرَ الْخَبَث, when khabas prevails in the world, but of course the khabas will dress up and present themselves as respectable people, but they are garbage. At that time, the Arabs will be destroyed, and that's where we are today. And then there is now the second event to which we now direct attention. The answer is, the question is, when will Gog and Magog be released? And we now turn to the Quran, and I hope we have enough time left. And we go to Surah Al-Anbiya. Gog and Magog are located only twice in the Quran. So you have to be deaf and dumb and blind not to see it. But you show the sheep and the cattle, they show no respect for the Quran. You never hear them talking about the Quran when it comes to Gog and Magog. They only say with the hadith. And when they go to the Quran, they're so utterly confused, they usually talk rubbish. Excuse me. Now then, we go to the Quran, to Surah Al-Anbiya. And this is what Allah has to say. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وحرام على قرية أهلكناها أنهم لا يرجعون. وحرام على قرية أهلكناها أنهم لا يرجعون حتى إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون. Allah speaks of a town, and this town is linked with Gog and Magog. This is an absolutely crucially important part of the subject. A town which is linked with Gog and Magog, centrally linked with Gog and Magog. And that town is destroyed by Allah. And the people of that town are expelled from the town. And then Allah placed a ban on them. They can never return to that town to reclaim it as their own until Gog and Magog are released. And when they are released, when the barrier is broken down and they are released, then with their indestructible power, no power, human power could block them. They will spread out in all directions and take control of the world and corrupt the whole world. And so the world order of Gog and Magog will come into being. And when that happens, then they will bring these people back to that town to reclaim it as their own. Which town is it? I am not talking to the sheep and to the cattle who refuse to think. Let them go and find their own scholars. I am speaking now only to those who have capacity to think, who have love in their heart for the Quran, and who thirst for knowledge. These are the ones I'm talking. I recognize painfully so that the overwhelming majority, they don't have time for the Quran anymore. They don't have any love for knowledge. They have other priorities in their life. I will not waste my time with them. No, I'm working to build a new world of scholars of Islam. Young men and women who today are in their teens and their 20s, mashallah, my grandsons and granddaughters. And tomorrow they will be illustrious scholars of Islam, and they will dazzle the world. A new generation of scholars of Islam will come. We are only doing the spade work now, building the little foundation for what is to come. And when they come, that will be the last shower of rain. And our Prophet said, my ummah is like the rain. I do not know which shower is better, the first or the last. So now, which town is it? And now I want to tell, we say that when Allah speaks of a Qarya, which is linked with Gog and Magog in Surah Al-Anbiya, وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. We say that Qarya is Jerusalem. That town is Jerusalem. So what the Quran is saying is that Allah destroyed Jerusalem. The sheep and cattle can do what they want. Leave them alone. They've lost the capacity to think. But we can recognize that the town is Jerusalem from these two hadiths and from common sense as well. Allah is saying that He destroyed Jerusalem. Allah is saying that He expelled the Jews from Jerusalem. Expelled Banu Israel from Jerusalem. They were not known as Jews at that time. Allah is saying that having expelled them, He placed a ban on them, and for 2,000 years they could never return to reclaim Jerusalem as their own. Are you listening to me in Israel? This is what the Quran is saying. But when Gog and Magog are released from the barrier, and they swarm out with their indestructible power, وَهُمْ مِنْ كُلِّ حَلَبٍ يَنْسِلُونَ. They spread out in all directions. These were the wars of imperialism and colonialism. When Pax Britannica imposes rule over the world, and then Pax Americana imposes rule all over the world, but the sheep and the cattle don't think. Usually that's what they do in a Darul Uloom. You can't think. They're blocked from thinking. They're prohibited from thinking. So leave them alone. We have another world of scholarship coming. We're working for that. And a world of scholarship which has the capacity to think and understand the Quran. And so when you see the Jews being brought back to the Holy Land, to reclaim that Holy Land as their own, reclaim Jerusalem as their own. Are you listening to me in Gaza? You know that Gog and Magog are not only released, but Gog and Magog are located amongst those people who bring them back. Who brought them back? Who brought the Jews back to Jerusalem to reclaim it as their own? It was modern Western civilization. This is a civilization created by Dajjal. And this is a civilization in which power is controlled by Gog and Magog. That is the heart of our Islamic eschatology. You can't understand it, get lost with your chip on your shoulder. But for those who want knowledge, who are hungry for knowledge, who are thirsty for knowledge, they will understand. Because Allah has not sealed their hearts. That modern Western civilization was created by Dajjal. He is the mastermind. And those who control power in modern Western civilization are Gog and Magog. And so they use Britain. Gog and Magog use Britain to liberate the Holy Land for the Jews. Use Britain to bring the Jews back to the Holy Land. And then Gog and Magog use the United States for more evil than that, to get the state of Israel to be established. And then when Israel is established, to make sure that Israel grows into a powerful state. And now they don't need the United States anymore, as they didn't need Britain anymore. And so George Floyd, and now the United States is being destroyed, as Britain was destroyed before it. This is how to read history. This is how to understand what is happening in the world today. This was an oppressor. Britain was a monstrous oppressor in the world, but the United States was an even greater oppressor. And the oppression of the black people, the African people in the United States was disgraceful. It was the worst slavery the world has ever known. And if you are in Trinidad and you are a lapdog of the Yankees, supporting America in the oppression on Venezuela, shame on you, shame on you, shame on you. I don't want to meet you. I don't want to shake hands with you. I don't want to see your face. Is that understood? Because we are a people who hunger for truth. and truth has no tolerance for oppression and injustice. If it is oppression by Muslims against Christians, we condemn the Muslims who oppress. If it is oppression of Muslims against the Hindus of India with 700 or 800 years of Muslim rule, we condemn the Muslim rule over India as oppression. That is integrity. So when you see United States oppressing the innocent masses of Venezuela, the poor masses of Venezuela, and you go and you support the United States in its oppression of Venezuela, shame on you, and on Judgment Day, Allah should show no mercy for you on your judgment for supporting those who are lapdogs of American imperialism. I thank you so much. I'm happy that I got a chance to identify the town as Jerusalem. And therefore, that Gog and Magog have been released, and they are the ones who brought the Jews back to the Holy Land. And therefore, Gog and Magog are located, they control power in modern Western civilization. This is the heart of Islamic eschatology. Show me any Salafi scholar who says this, I'll be very happy. Any Shia scholar who says this, we can say, alhamdulillah. Any Tabligh Jamaat, any Sufi, let's hear them. What do they have to say on Gog and Magog? Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.